Drew Brees broke a record on Monday night. I don't know if you saw this. I think they mentioned it once or twice on the broadcast. I didn't really catch whether they discussed it or not. Just sort of, keeping it out of the corner of your eye. Maybe they mentioned it leading up to the game. Maybe they mentioned it during the game. I don't really recall. But Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's touchdown record. And do you look at him, Brady, and are you surprised that it's that guy who ended up being the guy who broke it? And do you think that the fact that he broke it in New Orleans, I mean, I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on Brees and where he stands in the pantheon of quarterbacks. And the general lack of coverage surrounding his touchdown pass last night.
Well, for starters, sets all-time passing TD record for the regular season. Right? Because when I saw that stat, I kept looking. I was like, wait, doesn't Tom Brady have more career touchdown passes? Well, yeah, but you have to include the postseason. And so, obviously we want to create a more level playing field. So we say, okay, he's got the most touchdown passes for the regular season, which Tom Brady's still playing. So we could be having a different conversation in a couple weeks or at the start of next year when we actually get back together.
Saturday. On Saturday.
Saturday may happen. We may be giving Tom Brady a pamphlet saying, congrats, you've got the new all-time record now, and then starting this whole conversation over again. So the thing that you got to kind of point out is the fact that Tom Brady is well ahead of Drew Brees in total touchdowns, including the postseason, which, again, I don't want to get into semantics. It's an incredible accomplishment by Drew Brees. I'll get to that in a second, but he still technically hasn't thrown more touchdown passes in the NFL than Tom Brady. So it is what it is. But to answer your question, I'm not surprised by it being Drew Brees. I think what's incredible about him doing it is the journey. He had surgery, and at one point you did not know once he left the Chargers what the rest of his career was going to look like. He really should be thanking Nick Saban and the Miami Dolphins for not signing him and instead going with Dante Culpepper, because that opened up the opportunity to sign with the Saints. He gets paired with arguably the best play caller in football to go along with some talented playmakers he's had to throw to throughout the course of his career there. A great offensive line. I would say probably top 3 or 5 depending on what year, but in pass protection, almost as good as it gets. Good running game. He plays in a dome. This is a dream scenario for any quarterback to enter into, but how he got here is through a lot of hard work, probably reinventing his throwing motion to some degree, his mechanics, his routine, and everything else, and getting there with a different team. And I think that's the most significant thing to me is it's hard to start over with another organization. Drew Brees was able to do that, win a Super Bowl, and is now setting records and playing some of his best football at this point in time in his career and his life. But you can't discount the fact that it is the perfect scenario, probably the best scenario for any quarterback to put up stats and have this sort of production. So I hope that doesn't sound like I'm taking anything away from what he's doing. I just think you got to give a lot of other people credit for this, because even though he's out there executing it, Sean Payton's putting him in a great spot. Michael Thomas is the best receiver in the NFL, in my opinion, right now. I talked about the O-line and having backs like Kamara, for example, or Murray or Ingram last year to help out with all of it. So, and then playing in a dome, that definitely plays a significant factor. If you compare him right now to Tom Brady, regular season attempts, he's actually thrown, I want to say, 100 and some more passes than Tom Brady. So he's been in a more pass-happy offense than I think what Tom Brady's been during his time in New England.
So we talked about this last night on the Pick Six Pod, Brady, comparing him to Peyton Manning. And on the surface, that probably sounds a little silly, but you start to look at the numbers, and they're pretty comparable. Peyton has one more Super Bowl win. We know that Drew Brees won it all in 2009 in that big game. And when you look at even his advanced metrics, he's always in the top 5. I don't think he's ever won an MVP. We talked about that last night. In 2011, he was the number 1 quarterback in terms of advanced metrics, and it was always pretty much him, Brady for a while, Rodgers, and of course Manning. I want to get your thoughts. Are they that different? If you're playing, say, if he's playing Indianapolis in the Dome, are the Colts that much different of a team during Peyton Manning's heyday if those two guys switch positions?
I don't know. It's tough to really answer that question, only because you wonder if the play callers there too would change what they're doing to fit what their skill set is. I think what sticks out about really Brady, Manning, and Brees is they all have one extraordinary talent that maybe is the greatest that we've ever seen when you watch them play. For Peyton Manning, it was obviously his mind, the way he handled the line of scrimmage, the way he got them in the right play or the best play more often than not throughout the course of his career, because it really kind of became his offense, especially when he went to Denver. For Brees, it's the accuracy. And I think that's what I took away from last night's game. and so impressed by 29 for 30. I mean, I get it. You're at home. You're playing against a Colts team that struggled defensively and plays probably too much zone coverage. But come on, man. I mean, this is the NFL. He made it look like it was 7-on-7 in practice versus the scout team. It's ridiculous. And so you go back and you look at how he does it, how he's able to find ways of getting Michael Thomas the football, so he's eventually going to break the receptions record for a single season, and I believe the record too for the most receptions in their first 4 years. I think he's going to break that as well when it's all said and done, or maybe first 5 seasons, and that could extend into next year. But it's his accuracy. I mean, that guy is as accurate as any quarterback on all 3 levels, deep, intermediate, short, as any that I've seen. And because he doesn't have the strongest arm, he's obviously not the most athletic, and obviously he's smart, but you don't see him really do quite as much as Peyton Manning does at the line of scrimmage. And there's a lot of good things that Sean Payton puts together for him to dissect and dial up. But the accuracy is what I come away with every time and say he's incredible. I mean, it's the best I've ever seen in my lifetime. And in particular, when you think about one thing that I think they really perfected during the time of Marcus Colston and Jimmy Graham, some of those receivers, that back shoulder fade that you see, a lot of times they actually did a lot of up the seam too. And that's a pass that really takes precision, timing, knowing where the guy's going to be, and putting in a perfect spot for him to really adjust when the defender's on top of him, turn back and make that catch. And he perfected it. I mean, they really made it a thing where everyone was consulting with them in the offseason about what they were doing within this offense to be so effective.
So I looked at that real quick, and Drew Brees is the all-time leader, at least going back till 1985. In completion percentage, 67.6%. Let's see, Matt Ryan is 6th at 65.4%. Peyton's just behind him at 65.3%. You go down a little bit, and Tom Brady's 15th at 63.8%. But I'll ask you, Brady, if you can tell me who is number 2 on this list in completion percentage, I will buy you a gym membership for the next 5 years.
Oh, gosh. Since 1985?
Any player, any time between now and then, and they've been in the league at least 5 years. They're current. I'll give you that. I'll give you a little hint. They're still in the league right now.
Russell Wilson.
You want to guess, Brinson?
Wait, say the question again. I got distracted by the gym membership thing. Just give me the specifics.
Who is number 2? I'm looking at a list that goes back to 85. This person's still in the league. They played for at least 5 years. Who is number 2 behind Drew Brees in completion percentage on this list that I'm looking at?
Is there a qualified number of passing attempts for the list?
They've been playing for 5 years. Yeah. So, I mean, Steve Young's on the list. Dan Marino's on the list. Tony Romo's on the list.
Okay. And they're number 2, and they're currently behind Drew Brees.
Yeah. And they're currently in the league. I'll give you that hint.
And it's so ridiculous that you'll give us a gym membership for 5 years if we get it.
I'll give you a 10-year membership.
Well, it's I can't think of Marcus Mariota.
That's a terrible guess. Kirby Cousins, number 2 at 67%.
Wow.
Right? That's one for Pete Prisco.
Yeah.
That is.
And that's why he's paid. That's why every single time his contract negotiation comes up, you know what Kirk Cousins does? He goes, and he just slides over that resume. Mm-hmm. And every time you look at it, you go, whoa, is he a 3 touchdown and 1 interception ratio guy? And he's completing 67% of his passes, over 4,000 yards? Sign him up. How much do you want to get paid?
That's wild. Cousins is 2nd all time in completion. Why is that not played? Like, you're right. If you didn't look at his, do you know who number 3 is, Brady? I know Ryan does because he's looking at the list.
Did you already say it or no?
What's that? He didn't say it. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a couple of hints.
Okay.
He was born on the same day, same birthday as me, and Michael Vick, and his favorite food is biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy? No idea.
Are we looking at
the I don't even know your birthday,
Chad Pennington, baby.